All right, this is a song called IRL, parenthesis, in real life. Trying my best to keep busy, best that I know how. Staying keen, not to cling to a screen, but it's nearly impossible now. I'm trying my best to keep plenty of space, 6 feet at the least. Socially distant, but my soul isn't, and I'm trying to feel at ease. I'm live streaming and my smile's beaming, wondering if you're smiling too. We're FaceTime and then I'm realizing, can't wait to truly see you. No, I can't wait to truly see you. Trying my best to ration supplies, from paper goods to food. It's more of a chore to rationalize the overload of fear from the news. Trying my best to keep to the facts, talking with my friends. It's hard when the truth is under attack, but propaganda never ends. I'm live streaming and our smiles beaming, wondering if you're smiling too. We're FaceTiming and I'm realizing, can't wait to truly see you. No, I can't wait to truly see you. No, I can't wait to truly see you. No, I can't wait to truly see you.
Thank you, Bryan. Awesome, amazing. I see everyone wants to applaud, but I know it's a little awkward when we have our virtual programs, but we're going to be hearing more from Bryan later in the program. And of course, we will get to our round of applause. But Bryan is amazing. I can't remember, Bryan, this is your third, fourth, fifth time joining us. You were with us once in person and you were amazing. And we're so excited that you can join us now virtually.
Yep.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was about to say, I've been losing track of just the year, if it's a year or two, just time has been a funny thing in this past year in general. But I'm so glad that these events have been able to move to a virtual home for now, because what's really cool about it is that while I love being and performing for people in person, this in its own way has a kind of an even more of an, while we're not together, it's a little more intimate even so, because, it's really, there's no other I don't know. It just feels nice to be able to get, reach out to people still.
And so many more people. We're getting so many new people that couldn't join us in person, most likely.
So. Yeah, and from all over, which is fantastic too. Not just from like the Long Island area, but they could be from anywhere in the world, which is just phenomenal.
Yes, I know. It's amazing. A year ago, we wouldn't even imagine something like this. And actually, it's been exactly a year almost that we've been doing these virtual events. So that's amazing too. And of course, we're so happy to have Walking with Whitman, which has been going on for 11 years, making the jump to virtual as well. So my name is Caitlin Shea. I'm the Events and Media Director for Walt Whitman Birthplace. If you're not familiar with us yet, we are a museum that's located in Huntington, New York. And we're open for visitors, which is amazing. And we invite you to absolutely visit us in person if you're able to. And we have virtual programs like this all the time. We absolutely want everyone to be following us on social media so they can learn more about them. We have Whitman facts because we love sharing Whitman's legacy. And of course, poetry events like this and events with scholars telling us more about Whitman's lifetime and everything that's changed historically since 201 years ago. And our museum is the house that Whitman was born in 201 years ago. So definitely start thinking about a visit if you're in the area, or stay tuned here virtually. All right. So as I was saying, Walking with Whitman, we're so excited to be able to have it here. And for the second time, we are broadcasting this on Facebook, which is awesome. Hello, Facebook followers. We're finally making this transition and we're glad to be. Let's see. What am I missing here? Oh, I know. Thank you so much to everyone who donates. I always want to start every program by saying that because that's what makes this possible. Everyone who's been donating has been making these events happen for us for a year now, which is amazing. And even something small like $5 does so much for us. It means multitudes to us. So we really appreciate it. And we appreciate you just being here. Or if you're following us on Facebook, just watching it and spreading the news about all of our events is amazing too. So thank you so much for that. We really appreciate it. All right, so tonight we have a wonderful show for you. And we have George Wallace here with us. He is our writer in residence, and he has been bringing us the best international and local poets for about 11 years now. And I'm gonna have George, I'm gonna give you the spotlight right now. Thank you so much, George. Oh, and I just wanna real quick say, George joined us for a poetry reading. He's an amazing poet. And when I put the links in the chat, you'll see our YouTube is on there. And George gave the most wonderful reading. You have to watch it. And you'll be able to find that in the chat very soon. All right, George, here we go.
Oh, shucks. Right. That was Caitlin Shea. Caitlin Shea is a really important force for us at the Walt Whitman Birthplace. I've been associated with the Walt Whitman Birthplace since I came back to Huntington in 1988 in various capacities, interviewing the poet in residence. You know, that's, we've had international people with that. Yeah, from Yevtushenko to major figures like Robert Bly and Diane Wachowski, and up and down the line for many years there. And I had the privilege of being able to interview them year after year after year as a writer for the Long Islander newspaper. So I do spread every summer, you know, on the poet in residence. So that was my first initial connection to the birthplace. The birthplace and its relationship to poets and poetry, you know, contemporary poets and poetry, has really become an important force on Long Island, occupying a major niche in connecting regional poets with national and yes, even international poets, and done so much to bring contemporary poetry front and center in its mission that I can't help but mention that every time, you know, I introduce something at the birth, you know, for the birthplace. There was a time when the birthplace had a balancing act of, you know, taking care of an old 200-year-old building, you know, taking care of the legacy of Walt Whitman, and interpreting a legacy, and something to do with poetry more in general. And poetry was kind of like the ugly duckling of the three for many years. But, you know, since the advent of Cynthia Shore, or the executive director there, it really has changed. I want to thank the Walt Whitman Birthplace for doing that. Really has stepped up to the plate and helped with the renaissance of poetry, regional poetry all around Long Island, as there is regional poetry growing in many places of the country. Caitlin has been exceptional in that in recent years, and we've had a lot of people who come on, and that's a part-time job. I mean, I think she gets paid for it. I'm not sure about that, but the amount of work she does and the quality of the work that she does is unprecedented. So I want to congratulate her personally on the good work that she does as a person at the birthplace. Thank you for that. See, this is the 11th year, and when Cynthia and Caitlin and I were trying to think of what to do this year with being on Zoom, at that point, you know, we weren't all that familiar with it, but we saw it as an opportunity because, you know, we could reach out and without having to pay for people to fly here and put them up at the Hilton, you know, and get them back and forth from New York City or something like that. We could, you know, get very good quality people that we were getting, you know, for this Walt Whitman reading series. and reach out in a different way. And the availability was so much more easy. So, I said, let's do an international. Let's only go with international people. I said, yeah, okay. So this season, you'll see that we have a lot of people, mainly from the British Isles, England, Scotland, and Ireland on the tab. And we have Larry Beckett, who's going to be the first person reading today. But I mean, I knew Larry because I performed with him at the Ledbury Festival in England. And even though he's as he's American as Sam Peckinpah, he had that cachet to me. So I said, let's bring Larry in too, and because he's done a lot of work, in England. Now he's living in Portland, and yet he brings an international presence to the reading. So I'm really delighted to have Larry here tonight, and I'm also very delighted to have Ed Luhrs, one of my traveling companions here on Long Island and other locations regionally, presenting poetry. So it's a great season. This is the first one. It's the first Fridays of the month, 7:00 like this. We have music, which is great. Brian Gallo tonight. So thank you all for joining us, and hope you keep track of the schedule. This month, 2 months, I think, in the spring, March and April. Then, do we have another one before we go into September? I don't know. You can look at the schedule and see, but there's like 5 or 6 total. A couple in the spring and a couple in the fall. This is the inauguration of the 11th year, and it's great. I'm really pleased to have these two dudes with us tonight. So I hope you enjoy the show. I'll introduce Ed Luhrs first. Ed Luhrs, who many of you from Long Island know, from all sorts of different places that we all perform. We used to be at the Barn, but all different places around Long Island. He's that one guy that gets up, and they try to save him to the end because he blows a lot of people away for good reason. He knows how to orate, and he's got this incredible repertoire, and you never know whether he's going to be doing an imitation of Foghorn Leghorn or Yoda. Or something from Middle English. I mean, his repertoire is just enormous, and really a lot of very erudite and at the same time very entertaining. I've had the pleasure of traveling with Ed a couple of times. First, let me say he's been a co-editor of mine at the Long Island Quarterly for a couple of years, and thank you for that, Ed. It's really helpful to have you there. But we traveled together too. One time by Amtrak to Cleveland. Me and Russ and Ed traveled, and coldest winter in 30 years in Cleveland. They actually had to use blowtorches to get the doors to the railroad cars to close so that they could take off. So we were stuck in Penn Station for, I think, 11 hours drinking martinis before they poured us onto the train. Got on the train at 11 o'clock at night, got into Cleveland at 5 o'clock in the morning. It was 6 o'clock in the morning. But did this wonderful gig with the Cleveland folks. That was one time. And more locally, he had a big Pontiac or some kind of big GM style car, and he used to be the guy in charge of driving me and him up to Woodstock, and we did some gigs together up in Woodstock. So a lot of great memories with Ed. And let me tell you, if you want to test a friendship, get in a car with another person and drive with them for 11 hours. If you're still talking to each other at the end of that, then there's a real friendship there. So I have a real friendship with Ed Luhrs, and I thank you for that as well. Please, no further ado, welcome Ed Luhrs.
I have been invited to unmute myself, and I believe I've been successful in that endeavor. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad to be here. I suppose if I were to start somewhere, I should start with a post that George put up on Facebook a couple of days ago about Wyatt Earp meets Middle Earth. And I thought that was fun. That was fun. Middle Earth is a Tolkien reference, of course, and I am a big Tolkien fan. So we'll do Tolkien related things first. First off, I've been a big fan of one of Tolkien's scholarship joys, Beowulf, right? And so I'll do a little bit of Beowulf, right? I'll do a reciting of Beowulf just to get things warmed up. Tha kom of mora under mistleugum Grendelgongen. Godes urebär, mynte sig mancha där manna kunde sumna besoren in Celadam heen. Ward under Wulknum, to this the hay ween wretched gold Celagumena, jar wost visa fatum fakna. Nay, was that former sit that hay Hrothgar's home gesåkte? Nor was that the first time he sought Hrothgar's home. Never hay on Aldor Dagum, Erna Sithan, Hardren Hela, Halthanas found. He has never seen a harder bunch of individuals tried by fortune. And then after that, I could keep on going. But basically, this is the point at which Grendel the monster gets into the hall and slaughters everybody. And so it's like a little bloodbath in this section. And it's I could do the rest of it, but I think I forgot it. But anyway, so that's one thing. I just wanted to do a tip of the hat to Tolkien, who was a scholar of Middle Earth, and so that's one thing. And the other thing is he was the maker of scholar of Beowulf, but he was also the maker of Middle Earth. And so this first poem I have here actually makes a little bit of fun, pokes a little bit of fun at Tolkien. It's called Happy Birthday, Papa Tolkien, 1892 to 2012, a celebration of dwarves, right? And so it so happens in the year 2012, it was Tolkien's 120th birthday. And so I was making fun of the fact that there are really no women in Tolkien. There's no sex in Tolkien. So here we go. Gimli, son of Gloin, fathered in the deep mines of earth. One will never hear in Tolkien of lust among the dwarves, the actual conception of new generations of the stout creatures, but I imagine it here. I envision the bearded women sweating, the smell of wild onions suffusing through the loam of their nethermost regions. This, the origin of all good miners of Middle Earth, the little fellows issuing forth from the anatomy of the women. Ah, but first, the day of conception, the very glory of it. Stump upon stump, stumping vigorously with all the verb of Germanic workmanship, carving tenderness as if from stone, chiseling away at the meaty flesh, hair like coarse sandpaper, brushing away, brushing away, and the grunting sounds of carnal satisfaction. How magnificent, how cavernous the echoes of love, the bursting into song midst the heavy passion, the heaving, the miner's coughs, the reverse cowgirl position leading to an unfortunate concussion from overhead rock. I am perhaps digging too deep. We will never know of those kinds of interactions in Tolkien's world. We know only of the scholar himself, his love of ancient language and literature, the chaste, rustic, archaic rhetoric of his pen, the blowing of smoke rings from his pipe, and always, always the draughts of finest ale. Raise your glasses then to the man. Cheers. And yay, 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 there it is. And then contingencies. The interrogatory shadow, the unexpected verb, ancient pretzel philosophy, the wisdom of puppets, broken platitudes, transitional fossil piracy, celestial massage parlors, broken fuel lines, manic jargon, angry hamburgers, benevolent logic, the levitation of grapes, unsolicited fatherly wisdom, geothermal indigestion, practical disintegration, the art of the pickle, the laying of blame, imprecise benevolence, ancient cave structures, moldy crevices, broken wheelbarrows, phosphorescent coating, bilious cowboy plutocracy, unresolved granular dividends, burgeoning partitions, renegade truck collisions, misplaced auxiliary supplies, atomic wind propellers, newborn savages, selective regeneration, the heavenly seed of absolution, the spray of salvation. Then this next poem, I'm going to give you something that I put together. I think this is something you call an ekphrastic poem, where the poem is made up of lines from another poet. And in this case, this poet is not a poet, but a novel called The Waves by Virginia Woolf. And so this is a poem called I See the Sky, consisting entirely of random lines from the waves. Actually, they're not random. I had a way of selecting them that was just based on mathematics, but I won't go into that. Let's just read it. I See the Sky, lines from The Waves by Virginia Woolf. One cannot go on forever. Without pausing, I will begin. The phantom was part of the flower. The black cat moved among the bushes. My feet feel the pinch of shoes. We can shut out these distracting voices. A woman couched beneath the horizon. Avoid these ready-made phrases. I will not conjugate the verb. I hear something stamping. Far off down the river, I hear the chorus now assume the sober and confident air of soldiers who saunter under yew trees. I cannot precisely lay fingers on this fact. I cannot follow any word through its changes. He seized her with the pajamas blown out hard between them. The apple tree leaves became fixed in the sky, the cherry tree with lumps of clear gum on the bark. All cries, all clamor are softly enveloped in silence. Human history is defrauded of a moment's vision. We are the first to come here. Now we march, 2 by 2. I require the concrete in everything. Bang! They have thrown a chair now against the wall. You are all engaged, involved, drawn in. I see the sky, softly feathered with its subtle effulgence of moon. So there it is. This next one was a 3-part poem, but I'm just going to give you the first part. And it's based on just my response to a wonderful book by Siddhartha Mukherjee called The Emperor of All Maladies. It's a book about the history of cancer, right? And so this is a poem, this single section from a 3-part poem that I'm going to read is something I entitled Metastasis. The body, resilient in all lines of defense except one, begins to utter hermetic code in some remote corner of the abdomen, the lung, the pancreas, the breast, wherever it is, for reasons thousandfold and unseen, a revolution takes place. through innumerable forms and effects inextricably arisen from the human genome, the same pattern emerges. A small gathering of cells achieve independence from the norms surrounding them. The body's growth inhibition signals are discarded as archaic litanies, which, having formerly ascribed to the religion of programmed cell death, now march to a tune of limitless potential. In this regime, singular masses, grape-like clusters, or spindle-shaped strands undergo shifting replication. A newly arisen renegade speaks a broken dialect of messages within the very protein structures that regulate the surrounding tissue. An order is given that blood be drawn. Vessels engender continued growth to the affected area, and then, having securely established its power base, a rapid invasion spreads to remote organs in new and newer terrifying forms. This next poem is a poem I wrote in a George Wallace workshop. And George Wallace workshops are fun if you ever get a chance to go to a George Wallace workshop. He does a lot of free association. And somehow in this workshop, I wound up writing a poem about a raccoon. And this is a poem called Bandit. And it's about a raccoon, but it's also based on, I watch an awful lot of David Attenborough nature documentaries. So this is a tip of the hat to David Attenborough. Bandit. In the cave, a ripe concourse of deafening squeaks and fluttering, bat manure brewing noxious fumes that burn nearly anything blind as the black pitch. Yet the sly, nimble raccoon searches the contours of rock for fallen babies, its touch, a map maker, a torch in the darkness. Or in the cities with clockmaker hands, a gentle shove, trash can lids pried open for scraps, rotting chunks of banana, pork, salmon skins, the last wilted leaves of romaine. Master thief, manipulator, opportunist in hard circumstances, fishing frigid streams, under brush, between cracks, over roadways, the car wheel cracking a fallen nut, the patient marauder watching, waiting for the light to turn red. All right. And there is an important point in the program where I should just burst into song, just spontaneous joy. And this song is a little ditty I made up that's based on a German phrase meaning to have another opinion. Andere Meinung sein. Ich habe andere Meinung. I have another opinion. So andere Meinung sein. And it goes like this. He likes red, she likes blue. Andere Meinung sein. I like nothing that you do. Andere Meinung sein. Andere Meinung sein. I like nothing that you do. Andere Meinung sein. A ching ching chingy, a chang ching chong. Andere Meinung sein. All what is will come undone. Andere Meinung sein. Hey, andere Meinung sein. All what is will come undone. Andere Meinung sein. You're a broker, she is broke. Andere Meinung sein. She's a choker, you like coke. Andere Meinung sein. A wing ding dinky, a dinky dong dang. Andere Meinung sein. A pow pow kitty do a bim scala bim. under a Meinungsgein. Big potatoes, under a mine, under a mine, under a Meinungsgein. No one knows what anyone thinks under a Meinungsgein. It's really sad people don't like chicken under a Meinungsgein. Stop singing, and the chicks I like are either crazy or otherwise unavailable. Under a Meinungsgein. Make a chicken sound. Under a mine, under a mine, under a Meinungsgein. No one cares what anyone thinks under a Meinungsgein. Yea, verily, and so forth. And then, I see Judy Turek out there, and Judy Turek likes this next one a great. Hey, Judy. Judy Turek likes this next one a great deal. It's something that I did many years ago, looking at translation software, and in this I translated the lyrics of Stairway to Heaven from German to English to Spanish to English to Russian to English, and then edited the whole thing and came up with this. The Babelfish translation of Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven. Sure, the lady has one. First, she has reliably everything. The sparks of gold and the purchase of stairs to the sky. If purpose holds it there, if entire memory with the word is closed, she stops and obtains that it has arrived. And the stairs, she buys them to the sky. It gives instruction on the wall, but she wanted to be safe because sometimes words, they have two reasons. In the shaft next to the flow, which the bird gives, will be all our misgiven thought. Sometimes form is a miracle. Oh, form, it is a miracle. It gives sensation, which is received if I glance to the west, and my alcoholic stupor, which is necessary to go away into smoke rings, is made longer by the jaunty ego of thought than by the shafts in question. Form expresses miracles. Oh, form, it is a miracle. And it is whispered that soon, if we all conduct the melody, the piper will order that we conclude. There will be a new day for dawn, against which they who desire resound, and the forest will have an uproar of laughter. If it is precipitated in the hedgerow, what is alarming you now will require pliability when the May Queen sufficiently completes her job. Yes, two clean roads which can be exchanged for the changing road they set on fire. And it gives formation to the miracle. When your head snores, you do not know that the piper is connecting to it. Lady, can you hear the wind burn? And did you know the stairs to your bed are whispering in wind? Then, as our road coils downward, the curtains go more above our souls. We give one lady we entirely know the chance to show in her white light intensity that everything returns to gold. And if you pay strong attention, the melody will finally arrive. When one and one is everything, then by rock and by roller, you will not purchase stairs to the sky. Amen. People who know me always laugh at that one. I wrote poems a long time ago. I was writing poems before I even knew that I had an audience. And this is one of those poems. I was writing it thinking about a relative of mine who was having a tough time in life. And this is called Make Way. Within this universe, big and full of wild stuff we can't even begin to conjure, it seems only natural that we, on a soggy day, a bumpy day, a not so fantastic day, should want to paint the four corners of our room into territory that we have marked as outside. Nurtured in cubes, we pass wind. As wind passes, our intake of air breeds a certain familiarity. The flatulent chorus sings us home to sleep. We, warriors, martyrs all, touch the ineffable forms, others' horizons, assumed in an absence taken as our own hope, lest we cross the threshold and come forward. Now, speaking of family, I have two poems that are related to respectively, my father's side of the family and my mother's side of the family. This first one is about my cousins on my father's side of the family. And then the next one is going to be about my great-grandmother on my mother's side of the family. So first about the cousins, remembrance. I remember an evening, the moon was full and we were out in the great South Bay, high as Orion's belt, playing Van Morrison and racing a vessel known infamously on the Massapequa docks as the Fugitive. With the engine of a converted Chevy, the wake behind her was wide, sending ripples that pulsed along the length of the state channel, even farther beyond to my earliest memories. This won't happen again, I thought, and I knew it, true as dirt. Not just the moon, but the random visitation the original owner of the boat gave us that night on the water, and later on the backyard porch, the poise of a praying mantis attending the evening light on top of the barbecue lid. All the while, we caught up on old times, happy times, times we never exactly shared, but oh, how great it felt to be part of something vibrant and alive as this, my own blood, kindred spirits in late August. And then next is my great-grandmother Lily, 1892 to 1975. I remember her from 1975 when I was just 2 years old. This memory feels so vivid, and so it begins. My memory feels so vivid, but who knows what the mind creates from scraps of wishes. A frail woman in a bed, a 2-year-old boy at her door, uncertain. What's the matter? You afraid of an old lady? She asks. I hear the Sicilian accent, strong as the distance of years that separate us. All right. So that is a tribute to my great-grandmother, a very short one. But it was a recent poem I wrote. Then I figured I'd read 2 poems from my blog, which is Ed Luhrs blogspot.com, Ed Luhrs blogspot.com. And one of the entries is the unanswered question revisited. And it has a 6-part poem. It's a mammoth poem, and I'm only going to read 2 parts, which maybe even just 1 part, depends. This is a tribute to the 6th part of Leonard Bernstein's Norton Lectures at Harvard University from 1973, a mix of his words and my own to provide transition. So here we go. 1. Knowing a thing in the context of other disciplines, a quixotic foray, whither music, understanding whence, what music, whose music, Copland, Bach, Stravinsky, Ravel, tapping the code of raga, a musical grammar underlying human speech, the varied structure and structural functions, the varied nature and structural functions of mind, abstracting larger principles of how we are constituted, our innate grammatical competence that proclaims its autonomy. Music, a metaphoric phenomenon expressing affective existence through mathematically measurable elements. Phonology, syntax, semantics, sound plus structure. Begin with the anatomical, the proto-syllable ma, how it leaps from the breast of mother into sound. The processes of speech, grammar known and unknown, human kinship, love. Open the breath to vocalize hablar, falar, fabulare, the branches of the olive vine, common history, the mists of prehistory where all mothers grew, where bad is small, the gods big, thereby good, the growling great, grow, groot, God, and once again the baby, ictus and glide, the mouth mother morphine rewritten as a pitch event, music as heightened speech, hunger, anticipation, aggression, the physical manifestations of affect, whose flesh and moist feelings, music among patterns, the sing-song tease, little Sally water, plaintively expanded, a constellation of 2 and 3 notes variations the world over, vibrating bodies emitting waves, the tonic and its overtones, fractional segments vibrating separately, and 5 notes away, the dominant, itself a fourth away from the next overtone, then the third, making the fundamental and the 3 pitches. The triad, one of many cultural expressions, tempered to tonal harmony, the blue notes resting in the spaces between, the birth of pentatonic longing and the tonal centers. And maybe section 6, let's take a peek at it. We'll skip it because it's on my blog. And you know, those of you who are interested, you can see on my blog the 6 sections. It's called the Unanswered Questions Revisited. And I have essays on my blog. I have a couple of poems on my blog. I have a short story on my blog, which is neat. I could read from the short story, but it's still I have more silliness here in terms of poems. So let's just go with a couple of more poems here. This poem is something I wrote when I was considering my go-getter whatever as an employee, right? This is called the interview, right? And so it goes, so Mr. Jones, what is it you've been doing with yourself for the past 10 years? Some considerable time has elapsed between this job and that. Were you vacationing? Or may we assume that you've been fondling sheep, that you are, in fact, a sheep fondler? This is what we have tentatively concluded, but bear in mind, this is not an immediate bar from an employment. We've dealt with your type before. All we ask is that you confess your current situation in print so our reviewing committee may have better recourses to make the appropriate decisions. Should we require any further contact from you, please be ready for our company examination. A mere 500 questions to determine your mental acuity and moral fiber, plus the all too important DNA sample, so that we may rest assured that no further assault on local livestock has occurred. Thank you for driving such a long distance from the farm. We wish you many successes out there in the big city. Next, O groaning rock of Abraham. Sometimes a man pisses on his holy relics and days of pestilence come. All is left bare for the lammergeier and the eagle. But what do we know of these things, O groaning rock of Abraham? It could be well that future post-apocalyptic tribes will see the shaft of Jesus penetrate hearts as the people congratulate their lawns for living so well. Listen to the special way that the commercials for the prescription medications help you get your game on, get your stroke on. We're going to hump the boogie down. Fiber and eggs, bitches. Disco biscuit, cheese, money, salad. Smoked indifference to everything alive. The decaying schools. The lack of interest in specifics. The opioid crisis fueled by the government. Some fun. The dinosaurs believe in us as we believe in belief itself. The mint juleps drink the fancy ladies dry as the troopers fence the perimeters of everything. The score is in. The meetings are being made. So, next is a series of haikus called Haiku Bestiary. Wait until the fig is a puddle of flowers, then savor the juice. Many together, the starling hordes sway north by northwest. The creeper too is a hunter, a lasso pulling upward. I asked myself, was it cuckoo or heron, that dusk silhouette? Near the wet street lights, pavement and splashing wheels, the star-nosed mole. And I am Ed Luhrs, your haiku journey host. Are we ready yet? A fig bursts when the flowers inside are sloppy wet. The fig wasp has been consumed by the flowers. The world is bursting with feeders and blossoms. Many mouths chew as one. The rats and starlings will sing the blue whales home to Narnia. Yet science involves gaining knowledge of systems. We need more of this. No mumbo jumbo, poofla poo, waka waka. Please use evidence. We seek sun for explanation, not adulation. Explain to us how your policy works with science. Is it magic you want? Magic works magic in magic places, fun almost free. But truth remains true. Verifiable data is still the best start. Why say almost? Say no mumbo jumbo Jimbo Johnson. We like raw, real earth, the mandibles of mine that chew away chaff. Your policy, wrong in ways too deep for words. We need earth alive. Oh, redneck smugness, happy haven for landfills, plastic forks and toys. Yay. You know, I'm just having a hoarse voice because, well, it just gets hoarse very easily. I also have ALS. I haven't mentioned that to very many of you, but so that's always a problem. But I'll get over that. This next one is called Slow News for Adults. What manic hours do we hunger? Labor after labor proves it. You are responsible for your own orgasms. As Gerd Stern writes, love is not enough to protect us from each other's excesses. Stupid things happen at ridiculous times. Let us be supple and pliant. Who knows why the meager quip about whose God is the most invisible of all? It matters not. We have no need for such divisions here on CNN. We give it to you slow and easy. Chris Cuomo battles the howling winds of the cyclone so that you still have time to raid the refrigerator. All is well in Gondwana land. The people rejoice. A new leader has arisen from the bowels of the Pacific. There is still time for interplanetary penmanship in a literate age. All our operators are standing by. The wind has taken Turks and Caicos. Harry Belafonte has arisen from the gravy train. All is well in the sacred primordial soup. Jump in the line, rock your body. Ambassador Nikki Haley, 29th of her name, bears her breast to an alligator. The children have arisen from beneath the broken stones. We weep to see it, we the people of Gondwana land, here to make peace with the refrigerator while the sterling winds howl on CNN. How many more should I do? 2? 3?
I think we have time only for one more, unfortunately, Ed. Really
Let's
enjoyed
do
it.
one more.
Yeah.
I think one more is smart.
Okay.
The last egg. Why not start to do that? Wouldn't it be great if the big guy had a giant data drive of all that ever was? If there were a large storage facility for all the prehistoric chicken eggs waiting to be hatched again in the green pasture of heaven. If the megalodon swimming the celestial waters bushes past vast interstellar coastlines of marsupial lions and small river horses, oh, what truths would be revealed. But we are left here on Earth with the much harder task of evaluating observable data, the million-fold interconnections between things just beyond our understanding, searching for means to preserve what we have before the rising tide carries the last egg toward that undiscovered country, where time is forever and memory unneeded. All right, you know what? I know I just have one more, and then I'll be done.
All right, we'll allow it. Go for it, Ed.
The Imaginarian, because we want to end on a happy note. In the mind of the Imaginarian, there are bubbles that become urgent as molasses, the placid movement of chime a drudgery. But then wings of angelic forms come to light, and a vast horizon of being stretches outwards to new adventures. Go for those adventures, O winged Pegasus, and with equine strength weigh improbably upward like a vast eagle. Amen.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I think Barbara Southard, who's here tonight, said it best. She said, from Beowulf to haiku, you are the best, Ed. And we have so many local poets here with us tonight, here to support you, Ed, so it's amazing. So
it is amazing. That means so much to me.
Yes, yes. So many familiar faces. It's awesome. It means a lot to us too. So if everyone wants to unmute for just a moment and we can give a big, well-deserved round of applause for Ed.
Good job.
Thank you, Ed. Love
Thank you so much.
Ed rocks, Ed rocks, Ed rocks.
Great job, Ed.
Big fan group here tonight, Ed, for sure. All right. And so we're going to go back to Bryan Gallo for a musical intermission. Bryan, I'm looking for you. All right, I found you. Perfect. I'm going to give you the spotlight right now. Here you go, Bryan.
Joke. I'm going to see. I don't think that didn't change anything, right?
Nope, you look great.
No, I just went, I went to some of the tile views so I could see some people.
Okay, I just want to remind everyone to mute again, please. And
except for me, right?
Not you. Not you.
So I'm gonna do something I didn't think I was gonna do, but I think I'm gonna do it. I wrote something on Monday night and I hadn't been I've been writing fragments of things for a while, but I feel like this is kind of mostly full. So if you see me looking down a bit, just because I didn't run to go get my music stand, and so I'm reading words from a book. But this is a song tentatively titled "There Will Be Better Days." When your demons come pounding at your door, and you're feeling simple things becoming chores, and you're screaming, but you don't know what for. Don't be afraid. Swear there will be better days. When you're crying till your face is salty wet, and you're trying very hard to forget, you'd be lying if you say you never fret. Don't be afraid. I swear there will be better days. Waiting for when the sunshine no longer feels like an unwelcome guest. So who'll cast out this darkness? I know it is hard, but who knows it soon will end. Just call on friends. Waiting for when the sunshine no longer feels like an unwelcome guest. Who'll cast out this darkness? No, this is hard, but I promise soon will end. So just call on a friend when your demons come pounding at your door, and you're feeling simple things becoming chores, and you're screaming, but you don't know what for. Don't be afraid. Swear there will be better days.
Beautiful, Bryan. Beautiful as always.
Thanks a bunch.
Awesome. All right, so we're going to go back to George now. And George will be introducing Larry Beckett. I found you, George. There you are. Your spotlight.
There you go. Thank you, Brian. It was beautiful. And Ed, great job. Now you know why we made him sit in the back seat all the way back from Cleveland. Me and Russ in the front. Great job. Now, well, we'd be remiss if I don't mention 2 or 3 people in the audience who deserve special recognition. Then we'll move on to Larry Beckett. We have the current Suffolk County Poet Laureate with us, Barbara Southard. Hi, Barbara. Former Suffolk County Poet Laureate and board member at the Walt Whitman Birthplace, Robert Savino. Hey, Robert. And we have my another board member from the Walt Whitman Birthplace with us tonight, Richard Bronson. Good to see you, Richard. And a rare guest. I don't really see him too often, not since the couple of years that we worked together intensely on Poetry Vlog. He recorded many of you in the audience tonight on what still currently exists as poetryvlog.com. Michael Mart, the videographer of Port Jefferson. And it's a special pleasure to have him with us tonight, too. So that having been said, it's wonderful that we have like 60 people in the immediate audience, and we're streaming on Facebook. So all you out there, thanks for joining us. It kicks off 2021 really nicely for us. Larry Beckett. It is a pleasure to introduce you to Larry Beckett. He's famous for his being the author of the lyrics of many of the songs by Tim Buckley, father of Jeff Buckley, who went to high school with. He's a Southern Cal guy and an Oregon guy. He's now known, and if you Google him, you'll see him as a Portland songwriter, but he really is more than that, as a prolific and highly regarded American poet. Over the decades, he's been composing an epic work called American Cycle, which features 10 book-length poems. That's more than a long poem, isn't it? Based on pioneering heroes and charismatic places in America's past. Tonight he's going to be reading from American Cycle, which is due to be released in April, if the release date is still holding. Something from all 10 of these epic poems. 47 years in the making. I'll admit it was a surprise when I drove to Ledbury from the Lake District back in 2015, hundreds of miles on the wrong side of the road, being in England. Participated in some of the, was really one of the great literary festivals in the UK, and find that I was paired with, not with a tea sipping erudite, but so rather another big talking American, a tall tale telling kind of a fellow wearing a Bronco busting hat and as poorly shaved as me. By the end of the evening, however, I had good reason to understand why they chose him and to be delighted with the pairing and the good judgment of the festival organizers at Ledbury. He had just come into England at that point in time, 2015, to embark on some amazing activities, which I'll tell you about in a few minutes. But let me just say that this cycle that we're going to be hearing from tonight, the American West is a lot of things. One of them is big. So, if you've ever flown across the country or driven across it, it's 11 hours to Cleveland. That doesn't even get you out of the East. Something about the American West that, we equate with bigness, tall tales, legendary heroism with gritty sort of under realities. And artists who spend a lifetime exploring them. Just now, as you know, there's a mountain out there somewhere in the West that one man who spent his lifetime, and now his children are carving into a likeness of Crazy Horse, has been doing this for 81 years. That sort of, monumental project is something that, we associate and we liken to the West. And we have here with us tonight Larry Beckett, who has gone deep in his own way with this lifetime project. A couple of the books have already come out. Wyatt Earp one, a poetic narrative of the wildlife in the Wild West. And interestingly, he forgoes the myths and gives us the aches, loves, morals of the man himself. He gets to the human being behind the folklore. His book on Amelia Earhart, the pre-war pilot, self-liberating woman, was published back in 2018. And that also sets the mythological image of our first famous female aviator against her own musing on the facts of life, or his long poem to Paul Bunyan, another one. A beautiful ride has been described as a beautiful ride in American language. The wild forests and rivers injected with twisting, turning humor through gripping tall tales. There's so much in this poetry to like. For those enamored of subject, with the likes of John Henry and P.T. Barnum and Chief Joseph and huge, figures like that lurking in this work, the subject matters here. For those enamored of form and language, it's rich territory. You listen for Spanish words loaned from old California, backwoods Blue Ridge dialect, African-American colloquialism, circus bunkum, plain-spoken oratory of the indigenous people whose legacy still haunts the enormous physical and psychic landscape of the West. Or music, the music and language of poetry. There's plenty to enjoy here too. So much so that Jack Hirschman, the great San Francisco poet, former poet laureate out there, praised it, saying that this work possesses that certain blue in the blues that can make a poet sing the just note, the precise phrasing. That brings us full cycle back to Larry Beckett's work as a songwriter. In recent years, he's kept his foot in the door of popular music, and that's why I say in 2015 he began to make waves in England, working with British folk rockers. Wrote a great poem elegy to John Lennon, which was recorded as a song as well as you can find it on YouTube during a much ballyhooed tenure in the UK. I'll give you one interview with him, and then we'll hear from him himself in an interview with the Willamette Weekly newspaper in Oregon, which is entitled, very interestingly for me, on collaborating with Tim Buckley, paying homage to John Lennon, and getting ripped off by Bob Dylan. That's the title of the article. Larry turns the tables on the interviewer really adroitly, noting that when they were engaged in what was a concerted effort to write poetry and magnificent new music back in the day, having something emblematic, he turned to Revolver, the Beatles album, Blonde on Blonde, the Dylan album, for something to aspire to, something aspiring to art in rock music. And he said, the ambition was there, said Larry Beckett. I mean, God bless us if we could have even sounded anything like Lennon and McCartney, which I don't know, maybe it's fortunate or maybe it's unfortunate that he didn't. But in his poems, Larry Beckett has turned that particular trick. This is poetry that sounds authentic, like the American West, with all its real and imagined glory and all its complexities. Please welcome to the Walt Whitman Birthplace, Larry Beckett.
All right, all set, Larry. Okay, you're on.
Thank you, Cynthia, Caitlin, George, Laura, and thank you. When I read Walt Whitman's words, poets to come, a new breed, native, I felt like he was talking to me. Like Leaves of Grass was prophesying an American epic poem. I've worked for 47 years writing American Cycle in 10 books. I hear America singing the varied carols. Columbus discovered America, but some island, not the continent. The first European to set foot here in 1513 was that fountain of youth explorer, Ponce de Leon. He came ashore at Cape Canaveral. In this poem, all times coexist. So he sees Apollo 11 lift off in 1969 as the old song, Children Go Where I Send Thee, counts down from 12 to 1. U.S. Rivers, Highway 1. Look, sandpipers and a green rush, Columbus, a stick with marks, cane, grass. Children go, and a candle lifted. The Indies, on internal power with the launch vehicle, aim at the naked men, obey or die. T-12 apostles, seconds and counting, the conquistador and his chaplain, 11 who went to heaven. What longitude go where see miracle, a light, 9 bright shiners. Ignition sequence starts where I thunder in the alien sky. Oh, long enough to say 2 credos, 8 April rainers. Downrange, launch vector east near the equator as the earth whirls. 7 stars, capture Seloy. I send, rename it 6 proud walkers after the day. St. Augustine, 5 symbols at your door. De Leon, man in the moon, walks all waters, looking for the fountain, Easter, finding this island, flowery, Florida, fire, before the Caloosahatchee arrow. 3 rivals here at Cape Canaveral in the cane breaks. 2 lily white boys, the Saturn V in green. 1 and all alone, 0. Liftoff on Apollo 11. Tower cleared. Children, go where I send thee. Paul Bunyan, the lumberjack from the Tall Tales, starts a river drive on the Muskegon back in 4011. Paul Bunyan. Old Paul rounded up the river rats and the boom pokes and started the drive, yelling tips from the book of snags. But as soon as the wood was wet, they hit a log jam with a big pole stuck and a whole stack up behind it. And if a monkey were to shin up the jackpot to free it, he'd be sure to be crunched before he could say scat. Now, planting the blue ox downriver in front of the jam, old Paul fired off his shotgun, aiming to tickle Babe's ass with buckshot till his tail twirled like a screw in the water, which washed it backwards and untangled the rack heap. Bunyan and his river hogs, with their peavies in their fists, steadied out on the timber and barreled down the flood on the backs of the logs, heading for a far-off sawmill. After sailing for a spell, Paul called to Roaring Jim, "Hey, check out the lumber camp on your southpaw bank. I could have sworn we were lonesome in Michigan, Jim. You ever catch word of a logging gang up against us?" Roaring Jim squinted at the pine shanties and said, "No, man, I ain't heard a hoot about any competition, but it sure as eggs looks like we bumped into it. It's too bad, but we're floating by too fast to ask them." Old Paul yanked his slouch hat down to his boiling ears and took a bite of his squirting tobacco, spiked his log and snarled at the white water as they all coasted by the tingling spruce groves on the lookout for boulders. When they burbled round a long crescent in the river, Paul stiffened up like a scarecrow in a frost and shouted, "Okay, Roaring Jim, I'm about to go nuts. Why don't you cock your eyes to the left and sing out what you see?" Roaring Jim rubbed his eyes, stooped down and looked out. "Say, I'm all wet, but it's another camp. Yeah, this one is slightly bigger, but hold on to your petticoats. Am I slipping or is that camp kind of familiar?" Old Paul sneezed and answered, "I don't know, Roaring Jim. All I know is this country's getting a trace too crowded. I see another lumber camp. I'm going to get curious." He leaned out, looking alive. It gave him butterflies in his stomach and a shooting star in his idea box. But he just drove on through the haze, boosting up his boys, tending out and sticking to his skill and his hunches. The sing-song water was making him drowsy and timeless as he rode on its skin and rippled around a slow curve when he jolted and stared at a big money lumber camp on his left hand, and he hollered, "All right, damn it, all hands and the cook and the woodpeckers ashore." The river rats steered over to the bank and Bunyan said, "Ain't this a beauty? We're back at our camp. If you boys imagine we're going ahead, you've been stung by creation. Oh, we're not too swift this morning. We're on a round river. We can paddle from now to Christmas. We're going nowhere. And it'll be the same hawk, blackberry bush, and lumber camp in the Great Lakes country sun after 10,000 years. This creek has no spring and no bay. It circled back and turned us into tourists. I swear to Yankee Doodle. Paul was about to take a tall shovel and cut a canal slapdash to the lake from the make-believe backwater, but he saw that the round river was a wonder for hogs, and so, hauling the timber overland to the Muskegon, old Paul launched the whole lollapaloozing drive again. He was so star-spangled exultant at the big finish, he celebrated the fact by dreaming up water walking. He broad jumped way out to a long log in mid-river and rolled it with his stride till the water creamed. He stomped like a turkey, and while he burled, he bragged, "Whoopee! I'm long-legged, I'm rambunctious, I'm ripe, I'm all bouncy, I'm the spotted horse nobody can ride. Yeah, I waddle like an ox and I crow like a cyclone. I punch like a landslide and I fuck like a hummingbird. I walk 10 miles in a good hurricane for a fight. I've got the guts of a God almighty freight train and the brains of an almanac. Oh, I'm an easy hobo. I can take a bite out of the sun and spit light. I can strut till a buffalo blushes and out scream you. Look out, boys, I'm freewheeling and I'm on the loose." And he hoofed it so strong that when the river rumpled, he walked ashore on the bubbles, cut a gig trail, and skipped back to the log before the bubbles broke. In New York, in 1846, P.T. Barnum is interviewed by the future author of Leaves of Grass. P.T. Barnum. I'm Walter Whitman from the Daily Eagle, and sit down. What do you want to cover? Well, I read your letters to the Atlas, and we're both ink slingers at 1 cent a line. Oh, I give it my all, freelance from wherever I am on the opening road. What? Over there? I did rub elbows with the Queen of England, etc., the big noises. If you, did you see anything across the ocean that shifted or made you love our country less? Oh, Whitman, in the old days, I was back and forth across our raw states. And overseas, it's ice, it's kings and customs. In America, it's sprawl and freedom, men and women in the thick sun. Splendid. I tell you, that speech, you could work it up into a book. In Monterey, in 1848, a runaway sailor from Boston named John Light and Rosalia de la Luz, a daughter from the Martinez Rancho, have a tryst. Old California. He walked to his horse and swung to the Anquera, and after a breath of air, she followed. She wore his hat and steadied by his hand at her sweet waist, his left holding reins. They traced on back to simple Monterey. In that ecstatic ride, his only thought, that she curves in, how she curves out. Low light from candles burning by the blue Madonna in the altar on the white wall. Rosalia turning to him. I see your history in your blue eyes. For Light, words weakened at sight of evergreen sprigs, wildflowers coiled in her hair. He slipped the shell comb out of the crown and tugged the silver pin by its globe from in back. As all poured down like luxury, unloosed her white mantilla from around her graceful hips, uncrossed and ungathered it from over her breasts, and on his knees rolled down her stockings, oh, slowly to bear her. She lay back on the bed, thin mattress on a bull's hide, her hands open over her head. In this lying down dance, his vows of pressure were kisses and thick as love, all language from skin to skin, all certainties at her split lips. It was soon dusk, the waves now plain, silences between, then slaps like blood crashing in over and over caresses. She was sliding her ring off and on her finger, touched fingers to his mouth. I have to go. He kissed her hand. What will you tell your padre? Que? Nada. I mean, about the marriage. I am his daughter and will marry who he chooses. What are you saying? I'm saying, and what was all this we've done? It was love, amor mio. I feel light as a feather. I'm in a family I must follow. He's chosen him for silver dollars. It doesn't matter. And for his pure blood. Oh, steal away with me tonight into freedom. Ah, no. You love the heart in me that makes me do this. How can you know? You love old California in me. And I'm in the prison of my ribs. Love isn't strong. No, mi querido, don't say it. What are you losing? Ah, don't cry. Ah, hush. Out the window, white skyrockets in the darkening street, but not for St. Guadalupe. A man running past. What was he barking? Gold on the American River. On your ivory shore, where the last drama coils, downfalls, issues in sighs, in kisses, this wavering border, all's shimmering as I touch the surface between you alive and only stardust. On this frontier, I won't look long at who I was, but cross into your inland, to that pine grove rooted in your histories, and with my red hosannas, make it sacred. And if in the bare morning, the world that wearies, its laws that crack liberty's bell, no sanctuary for its lovers, exile me from your arms. I'll go back to this stolen hour to see as countries melt, our skins one color in the tender light. In Oregon Territory in 1863, stars overhead, the father of Thunder Rolling in the Mountains, who we know as Chief Joseph, reacts to the Reverend who Christianized him. Chief Joseph. In 63, that bad blood again, and that thief treaty. All had made marks on the first, but the thief treaty, the old man never signed it, or half the 50 chiefs. Tribe frozen into 3 camps. 1 lawyer, yes to the treaty, his land not less. 2 eagle from the light, war against the whites till they go. 3 big thunder, the whites broke the first treaty, we don't sign it. In the long council, nobody bending but the old man. The tribe, Bandit, back in 42, old missionary, into one, and now disbanding like before the whites. All chiefs sign for their own, and the commissioner, half as many signatures on the new treaty as the first. He had anybody sign it till it looked full. Then, after 5 or so snows, the Senate passed it. The Indian Bureau said lawyers signed it for the whole tribe. White justice. What tribe? And my old man, who had been a long friend, had faith in the white faith and men. 30 winters in the agent's eye, took that old black New Testament and ripped it up, the pages blowing across the grass. Stars overhead, mute about the whites. Oh, he talked later. The Reverend, losing souls, rode into Imnaha camp, black coat in the cold weather moon, and rasped, "You will be damned. Is that what you want, your people, Sabbath breakers, without religion, drunks, robbers?" And the old man, "Save the drunks and robbers, huh? Why didn't you start with the white miners? All over now. Rough men, when they don't strike it, they go crazy with drink. They steal." No answer. I don't believe in you. In that story, first man and woman, your God said, if you eat the apple, you'll die. They ate and didn't die. And the snake, eat it and you'll be gods. They ate it and stayed human. And so that paradise was full of lies. The bureau agents grab our money off the first treaty. The commissioner gets fraud signatures on the second. The Congress only nods. Yeah, it's a religion for liars. The Reverend, I'm not here about the Old Testament, but that new. Why'd you rip it up? God loves you. Remember? Our Father. And the old man, your God loves your people, not mine. And lays his big hand on the white man's shoulder. Yes, like a father. But he's disowned his red children. He lived with you. We never saw him out here. He taught you things. No word for us. For you, it's spring, and he lifts you like the waters, day by day. Not long, and you'll cover it all. But for us, who once filled this country like stars in heaven, it's summer's end, and we are lower. We won't be back. No, God can't love us. Forget it. We have no father. In Springfield, Missouri, where the spook light was never explained, in 1865, Wild Bill Hickok is in a duel, told with words from the old song, The Devil's Nine Questions. U.S. Rivers, Route 66. Oh, what is the fireball on the back road rolling by the first gunfight? Springfield, in the square, Wild Bill Hickok in sombrero and buckskin and moccasins, louder than a horn, a pair of 44 Colt Dragoon pistols in his belt, backward. The Missouri spook light, first seen on the Trail of Tears. Oh, what is at the far end that rebel scout looking to kill him? Sharper than Susanna's arms, the war between the states, or some damn thing. A thorn. in the slow July dusk. Not will-o'-the-wisp, not headlights, not spirits. Don't come any closer, Davis, but he sideways and draws. It's one or the other. Wild Bill, I come to be perfect in the mountains. Dime Mark. He holds his heart. Oh, what is longer at 75 yards? Who hobbles to the courthouse, colder. All over, what's the use? As the fireball passes, not God's, he joins the Confederate ghosts, still fighting for secession at Wilson's Creek. In Virginia in 1870, John Henry, the steel driver, who was in a contest with a steam drill, courts Polly Ann. John Henry, when I look into your blue eyes, I trust that fire. You give as good answer as I question, and with a voice of love. Kind woman, if I was to go up between heaven and earth, out of the blue, drop a grain of wheat over the acres and plow it with a cocked feather, would you marry me? At the next full moon, I tell her, I made you measures. Love to hear them. Can't read. Not the Black Bible or the blue back spelling book, haunt of that God, the alphabet. But I can count the pulses of your blood, listen for April and the quail, show the way through the constellations. Can't write love letters in praise of what I have to praise, or even a list of what we need. But Virginia is my page, the rivers spilling over it my marks. When I take breath, I'm given in this hard, heavenly land. Hover and sing. In Texas in 1877, Wyatt Earp meets Doc Holliday. Wyatt Earp. Fort Griffin. On the flats by the Clear Fork, this bare saloon. Pardon me, the back bar black cherry with scrolls of guilt, the mirror, the nude, and the dog asking, on the trail long. I've been reading Sign Through the Nations on down the Brazos. What'll it be, sir? What it was, only I wish you'd won that day in Cheyenne in '68. For the love of Christ, is it yourself behind that mustache, Wyatt Earp? Hey, Shancy, imagine he knocked me out of prize fighting altogether, so he did. Well, it's nothing I do be thinking of. Look at you, Jesus, you're a man. I'd take a schooner of, you're the saint that won't touch whoopee water. Only one in all the railroad camps. You want mineral. That's right. There you go now. What do I on the house? Hold on. Here's to stealing, lying, fighting, cheating, and drinking. May you steal kisses, lie in her arms, fight for your brother, cheat death, drink in the wonder. Remember that. What does it sign, you say? What brings you down into the panhandle? I'm after Dirty Dave. For the bounty. For this hold up on a Santa Fe train, him and Rourke hightailed it. Know where he might have gone? From here across the staked plains or towards the Rio Grande shore, I don't know. It's a long shot. But that man there would. Nodding at him, whispers, Doc Holliday. in a pearl suit, ash hair, blue-eyed and haggard at solitaire. Know him? He's the killer, isn't he? I don't figure him friendly to a peace officer. I hear he's killed, but nobody around here. Nodding to the old bare-knuckle fighter and stepping to the window. Morning, Mr. Holliday. The bartender tipped me to you. I'm Wyatt Earp. Eye to eye. Call me hacking. Call me curling over his chest, his hand out to shake. No, palm up. Wait till the coughing. Call me Doc. Everyone does. Absolute misnomer. Strong, steady grip. For some reason, they don't want me leaning over them while they open wide. Wyatt smiling. Only gentlemen in this sanctuary are scouts, soldiers, mule skinners, bull whackers, sage rats, cold deck card players, trail hands, cattle rustlers, horse thieves, land sharps. Which are you? Bounty hunter. Well, if you will allow me to finish this round of ace in the hole, I'll surrender without a Wyatt laughing. Struggle. I'm looking for Dirty Dave. For the bounty. Pouring a tall whiskey, knocking it back. He hit a pay train. I'm only trying to get those boys their dollars. Out here, as the bard says, in a wilderness where are no laws. What way'd he go? Give me a day and I'll get his trail for you. Out for justice. I'll take the bounty for my trouble. His slender fingers turning the cards. Ain't seen the like of that smoke pole in your cross-draw holster. Shining nickel barrel, ivory grips. Colt lightning. They say he showed you to draw and shoot, and you showed him to draw to a pair of aces. It's a legend I'd have nothing to do with that sidewinder. He's tough, that Arkansas rancher. The grass is waving over him, and he'd done it. Nothing to me. Been carving credits on my gun barrel since I shot that saloon keeper in Dallas. Had to move on. That soldier hand to freeze out in Jacksboro. Moved on. Stabbed a tin horn in Denver. Move on. Wounded a sport in Trinidad. How many have I downed? Ever arrested? Why, no, I happen to what? You're a true heart, Wyatt. Never thought I'd... And I can't throw dust at you. It's all words. I make up dime novels as I go. Old Deadwood, shooting my way on. And the bad hombres, they keep their distance. Never arrested. Once, for, quote, playing at a game of cards in a house in which spirituous liquors are sold. Thanks for leveling, Doc. Till tomorrow, sir. In 1932, Amelia Earhart tries to become the second person to fly solo across the Atlantic. Amelia Earhart. One last look at the dogwoods blossoming and out to Harbor Grace, the man pumping gas. Good luck, Miss Earhart. I can use it. 7 women have died trying. You choose this anniversary of Lindbergh? Oh, I did. 5 years. The tide comes in and out, and we edge into the miraculous. So maybe your kid can walk on the moon, Major Aldrin. I, old Balchin, with a little smile. Think I can make it? Yeah, sure. I sit in the red airplane, rev it, check the mags, and nod. Into the wind and the long sundown, so I won't arrive at dusk on an unknown coast. With my lucky elephant bracelet and a sawbuck, out to sea. Beauty, action, just for that, and to show a woman can. I start. Between the private takeoff and the shock of landing, there's no witness to my work. 4 hours out, lightning, and I see the moon blink, the altimeter, hands swinging, out of commission, the rain blowing down, and I see fire in the manifold ring. Why did I look? Wasn't the storm south? Am I off course? That crack is worse. The weld is broken. If it splits, well, should I go back? Night landing, Newfoundland, heavy fuel. In 4 hours, I'll be halfway. Zero visibility, no horizon, burning. And I shove on, climb over the clouds. Now I ice up. I'm spinning, dirty window. God, but Lindbergh, same trouble, and he made it. I go down to melt till I see whitecaps breaking on the black tide. Glad it's not a smooth sea. Wave salts under my nose, manifold shaking. I hold under ice, over water, sip tomato juice. In steady mist, too low, no instruments. Where is the plane? In space. The gyro compass, a lifesaver. First light, I fly, white clouds, foam blowing northwest. Ice on the wing's edge, the sun dazzling. Dark glasses, did I drift south? East, skim water to a boat, manifold rattling. I switch to reserve tanks, gauge leaking on me. And what if the fumes catch fire? Don't miss the island. I can't see far. It's Ireland, turn right into the high hills, thunder and no altimeter. I 180 up a railroad, hope for a city. No, only a sloping farm, cows scare. I light, oh, in the grass, the manifold in flames. So tired, the engine unfailing, the heart. And I sit in the cockpit. I've done it. In Florida, in 1969, in his last days, U.S. rivers. Long night, St. Pete. Kerouac can't drift off. In his lawn chair, empty bottle. Listens to the wind blow off Long Bayou. Talking to him in the branches. Shimmy, show, shh. The Georgia pine, tangled in stars. In North Carolina, a backcountry woman goes over the day. Blue Ridge. Old haunts dissolve under a question's finger. In the true light, she rises and sets a pitch pine fire, made vague by the in and out sun. The eaves are singing, wren, redbird, pretty quick, quick. The wood thrush hymns, and the apple tree answers. Red ball in the rising smoke, breakfast out on the porch. Not much left from last fall, in yet this spring. Nothing is happening. The grass goes slow. Bees shimmer. Dog lies down under the bed. Creek runs with kids hollering as she sings at the loom. Oh, don't you see that lonesome dove? On the fireboard, a box of seeds, a bottle of whiskey. Up from the spring house, buttermilk, bucket of water, drifted with corn silk, honeysuckle, white oak chairs around the crude table, maple bowls. She sees the birch shivering, cloud shadows blur at the horizon, and fragments of the rainbow. Under the easy rain, she brings out and puts away returns a kiss. The sun goes to roost in the peach tree, now dark. Lantern with a busted chimney, light on the supper, so good, after the whippoorwill's grace. Talk of the long gone and all that was crazy. Get out the guitar for a rocking chair song. Oh, nothing can annul our time once lived. We were immortal for this one day, but we're ready for sleep. Crawl under the hand-me-down quilt and the smell of the country after rain. Where all did we go? And then come home. The stars pour in our narrow window. In the ocean off Santa Monica today, a woman is surfing. U.S. rivers. Past the fan palms, the Palisades is the ocean and the long fetch. The wind in winter, in the swell, in the wave breaking in its own shape, out for, come to a high roller. She goes belly down on the board. As the top combs, at the one moment, she stands up lithe and bare, sliding inside the curl in the green hollow, ahead of that wild, and riding the surf, the surface, the absurd foam, as if born there in joy. I see, as she touches the shore, morning, and from under her feet, the highway. American Cycle, thank you.
Thank you so much, Larry. So powerful. Amazing. And of course, the Whitman poem is very dear to our heart at the birthplace.
Oh, yeah, I had to put that in.
Yeah, you brought that to my attention with the P.T. Barnum interview.
That really happened.
Yeah, that's amazing. All right, so I'm gonna have everyone unmute again for a big round of applause for Larry Beckett.
Yeah, Larry Beckett. Right.
Larry.
Like the Kerouac poem and the
All right.
Whitman poem and P.T. Barnum. P.T. Barnum had a house down the hill from me
There he
Yeah.
is.
on Barnum Avenue in Port Jeff. Yeah.
That's right.
We're gonna jump into our questions in just a moment. I'll give everyone a second. You can either write in the chat or you can come on video and ask your questions for our poets and our musician if you have questions for Bryan too. I just want to say it's so beautiful getting together like this. I mean, there's so many familiar faces, especially here. It's a beautiful thing to see. Sorry, remember to mute again if you're not going to ask a question. Just want to make sure everyone remembers to do that. But again, it's just, yeah, it's so powerful. There's some of you who don't even live close to here that we see all the time. And if you're new here, please join us again. We just love having you and sharing these contemporary poetic voices with you. And of course, the voices of scholars as well. I'm still learning so much more about Whitman. He does contain multitudes. So definitely join us to learn more about him as well. All right, so let's jump into our questions. I see we have some. Let's see. A lot of compliments, of course. I'm not surprised. Beautiful. And I will be sharing this chat with our poets after this too, so they'll see everything you have to say. Does anyone want to jump on video and ask any questions or any comments? All right. Well, I think that we all enjoyed it so much. We're lost for words.
Yeah, I have a question.
Oh, okay. Yes. Hold on. I'm going to bring you up. Just talk again for 1 second.
Oh, okay, Bernard.
Perfect. There you go.
Okay. I want to ask Larry this question, and I guess it can go for all of us, but I wanted to know specifically, how does history and poetry connect with him as far as how he understands words and their meanings, as opposed to just writing words, but understanding the thought process of history and what it teaches us?
Yeah, okay, that's a great question. And the thing is that if you read a history book, you know, it's a pretty dry. I mean, they try to make sense out of what happened and show the causes of this and the effects of that and so on. But you know, if you ever actually been in something, in a situation that was written up in a history book, you go, man, it didn't feel anything like that. It was completely different on the ground, in the street. So one of the things that literature can do in novels or poetry is bring that dimension alive, what it feels like to a human being while the history is going over their heads. And as a matter of fact, all the historical parts of the U.S. rivers, that's two of the books, are U.S. Rivers Highway 1 and U.S. Rivers Route 66. There's a lot of history in there. All of it I took from these books called Eyewitness to America and Eyewitness to the American West. And these are anthologies. It's not a normal history book. It's eyewitness history. So it had to be written by somebody who was there, a person, not a historian. And that's what I use to inspire the poetry, to make it real.
Thank you, Larry. And thank you, Bernard, for your question. Does anyone else want to jump in on camera or?
I have a question.
Yes, I can hear someone. Hold on. Just talk again for 1 sec.
My turn?
Yeah, just keep talking for 1 second. It will help get your video up here.
Oh, okay. Tell me what it's at.
All right, well, go ahead with your question.
My question, Larry. Thank you, first of all, for great reading. As great as I remember.
Thank you.
Before. The Kerouac bit that you did with
Yes.
in Florida. I heard echoes of his own poem at the end of Big Sur, the shush and susurration.
Yes,
Yeah,
he tried to write the James Joyce was threatening to write a poem of the sound of the sea and died before he could do it. Kerouac picked up the gauntlet and sat on the beach in Big Sur and tried to do it. I'm aware of that, and maybe that influenced that a little bit. But it really did happen. He did sit out on the lawn chair in front of his house listening to the wind. He thought it was talking to him. I think I found that out in the book of his selected letters and charters.
Interesting. All right, anyone else want to jump in? Let me give you a second. All right, I think that's all we have for tonight, but we do have Bryan performing with us again in just a moment. But as always, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who's been supporting us, who's been coming here. It's almost a full year going virtual, and it's just an incredible thing. We're so happy we can come into your living rooms and we can share events like this. We have so many talented people joining us, just like tonight. So thank you again. It really means so much to us. And I hope that you join us for our future events. I'm going to post those links in the chat just one more time. So if you want to follow, oh, yeah.
Can we get an ad from Larry about his new book when it's coming out?
Oh, yeah, let's do that. Here, Larry, I'm going to give you the spotlight again. You just have to, yeah, you're unmuted. Perfect.
Yeah, American Cycle be published on April 15. If you go to americancycle.us, that will take you to a page. You can read all about it and pre-order it in paperback or hardbound.
All right, and that is in our chat right now, that website. and all the websites for all our performers and for us. So if you want to take a look at our past events, you can go to our YouTube. They're all free on YouTube right now, so check those out. And have a wonderful weekend. But we're going to go back to Bryan right now. Bryan has more for us. Thank you, Bryan.
Hello. I'm back. This song, I'm gonna do a few tunes for you, all of my own stuff, because I figured this is a perfect audience to perform my own material for. You know, sometimes I go out and I do cover gigs too to help pay the bills, but you know, I like playing my own stuff. It gets written, it has to get sung. So this is a song that I have as part of recordings I was working on, and then COVID happened, and then it just threw a lot of things into those works. But actually, I have a live recording of all things, a live album out on my Bandcamp page, which is briangallo.bandcamp.com. It's a live recording from the end of last June. We did it was a simulcasted live thing. We recorded it at a friend's place outdoors, socially distanced, safe, but it went for Patchogue's Alive After 5 festival. They had a virtual street fair this year. So part of our performances were kind of split up and used in between, and they had big bands performing live from the theater, just the bands themselves. So, but anyway, so the audio from that is a live EP I had put out. So of all things, during a pandemic, who puts out a live thing, which is funny and interesting, but it's a solo acoustic thing on my Bandcamp page. And this song that I hope to get done as a studio full band thing is solo acoustic on that. And this one's called In the Slanted Rain. Dancing in the slanted rain, your hair covers your eyes. When we leave here, things may change, so please stay with me tonight. Running through the bleacher seats, your hands locked in mine. When we leave here, things may change, so please stay with me tonight. It's unbelievable how often I am always falling in love. But I think that all my dreams are over now. So the girl that I've been dreaming of, stalled out in the parking lot, wishing our clothes were dry. When we leave here, things may change, so please stay with me tonight. It's unbelievable how often I am always falling in love. But I think that all my dreams are over now, 'cause you're the girl that I've been dreaming of. Dancing in the slanted rain, your hair covers your eyes. When we leave here, things may change, so please stay with me tonight. Stay with me tonight. Thank you, thank you. I'm hearing your applause in my head, don't worry. So these next two songs are songs that I do have out on a studio album I have recorded several years back called The Party Guest. And you can find all these things too if you stream music on Spotify, Apple Music, all those normal places. Just my name, Bryan with a Y and Gallo. And you can look up The Party Guest and you'll find this next song, which is called All These Pretty Girls. Stranded out in the subway station while the train shoots down the rails. Caught her face, but I'm a minute too late. I'm feeling pain, cause I know I failed. Catching the one that seemed most likely, effortless to change my world. Gotta stop putting so much stock in all of these pretty girls. Rearrange my plans tonight, cause I heard that you'd be waiting in the wings. You're gone and changed, but that's alright, so long as I can hear you sing. Cause every note that escapes your throat sends me to another world. I've gotta stop putting so much stock in all of these pretty girls. Sugar and spice and everything nice never go hand in hand. The sweeter they seem, yeah, the harder they bite. Something that I'll never understand. Tried to hail the same cab you climbed in so I can get closer to you. Still I know you'd only see me as a fan, a hanger on without a clue. Still I know enough, you would never as much make me an island in your world. Gotta stop putting so much stock in all of these pretty girls. Gotta stop putting so much stock in all of these pretty girls. Thank you, thank you. All right, so that tune was called All These Pretty Girls from the album The Party Guest. And once again, you can find all the links, all the pertinent links at bryangallo.com. There are little social media buttons and things up top. I think if you like hover your mouse above, it'll tell you what it leads to. If you're potentially, I'm unfamiliar with half the things nowadays, you know, like I know Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, but now there's so many little buttons and icons and a lot of stuff. So a lot of stuff to keep up with. This is a tune that I wrote some time back, and it's one of my first songs where after I wrote it, I think I wrote the bridge and I was like, oh, okay, this is coming along pretty well, and I felt like things were kind of flowing a bit better. So I was pretty happy with this one when it came out. So this is a tune called Waitress Song Call. Waitress walks by, asks me what I need. I reply, just a black cup of coffee, please. Cause I got a hunger you can never feed, unless you are willing to come home with me. So gather your tips and let's walk down Main Street. I don't care if you've got no stilettos on your feet. God only knows if we'll get any sleep, but we'll have all these photos and memories to keep. Come let your hair down long. Help me sing this song. It ain't written yet, but if you stay with me, it might be written by the moment. Let your hair down long. Help me sing this song. It ain't finished yet, but if you stay with me, it might be finished by the moment. So gather your keys, your sweater and your skirt, and make haste for the door because you're late for work. You got your shifts and endless faces to serve. There won't be one to let you know your worth. So while collecting your tips, could you please not fall? I hate for you to break because I think I'm in love. No, like you said, we weren't serious at all, so I'll just have to be content to have a waitress on call. Come let your hair down long. Help me sing this song. It ain't written yet, but if you stay with me, it might be written by the moment. Come let your hair down long. Help me sing this song. It ain't finished yet, but if you stay with me, it might be finished by the moment. Don't ask why I hurt. You know it's cause you flirt with no regard for any feeling but your own. Still every night I dial your number all the while. I know when the sun comes up you'll be gone. Come let your head down long. Help me sing this song. It ain't written yet, but if you stay with me, it might be written by the moment. Come let your head down long. Help me sing this song. It ain't finished yet, but if you stay with me, it might be finished by the moment. Ain't finished yet, but if you stay with me, it might be finished by the moment. Ain't finished yet, but if you stay with me, yeah, we might be finished.
Awesome, Bryan.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to have everyone unmute again for a big round of applause for Bryan Gallo.
I did.
Job, great job. Great job.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful music.
Bryan's,
Music, that's it, man. That's what it's all about.
yes, Bryan's a poet himself, a singer-songwriter, certainly.
Yes.
Complements our
definitely.
program so well. Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to put those links in the chat one more time, just in case you missed them. And like Bryan was saying, you can check out his music on pretty much everywhere you can download music.
Yeah.
I can't think of all the places, but there's many.
I will say today they're still doing it. They've been doing it for pretty much the entire year now. If anyone's familiar with Bandcamp, it's pretty much kind of a website for even bigger musicians, but more or less even like independent, lower, I don't know how, independent musicians, not signed to larger labels, to get their music out. And on the first Friday of every month, they've been doing a thing where any sales from people's pages, they don't take like their cost share cut. So it's been a big help to musicians during this pandemic to just for bigger names and smaller names and everybody under the sun, they get more, cut from the sales of the digital downloads or any merchandise or things from that. So I do have a Bandcamp page if you like what you heard and you want to check it out, bryangallo.bandcamp.com. or all other things, BryanGallo.com.
All right, awesome.
There you go.
All right, everyone, thank you so much again for joining us. I mean, tonight was just amazing. It's so many of our local poets, especially getting together. I feel like it was like a big group hug. And then we met so many other new poets today. And lots of other poets. We didn't all mute, but that's okay. But I hope that you have a wonderful weekend and you come back and join us very soon. All right, stay up to date with everything we have going on. All right.
Sounds awesome.
All right, have a good night.
Thank you,
All right,
Caitlin.
have a good night, Caitlin.
Thank you, Caitlin.
Thank you for all
Thank
your.
you.
Thanks, Larry. Thanks, Ed. Good job, everybody.
Yes.
See you next month.
George. Thank you,
I'll
George.
see you next
Beautiful.
time.
Thank you, George. Thank you, Caitlin.
All right.
Thank you,
You guys
Russ.
were all awesome.
Thank you, Russ. It's good to see you too, Russ.
Always good to see you.
Russ has a reading on our YouTube as well.
That's awesome.
Yes, a lot of poets that are here tonight have readings on our YouTube, so check them out.